Today we're going to work with some more ways to do FOIL, but these are actually the difference of two squares and the square of a binomial are actually shortcuts to using FOIL. And these are very important as you move on into algebra. And I want to start with the difference of two squares. Difference of two squares. I didn't write this squares very well. Now, if you look at that name, when we talk about a difference, are we talking about adding or subtracting? Subtracting. It's important to use this name to help you remember what it is. We're talking about subtracting two squares. Now, what do we mean? We don't mean like, we don't mean this. Okay, that's not what we mean. We mean if I square a number or a term. So we're not talking about subtracting two squares. We're talking about subtracting two things that are squared, like maybe x squared and 3 squared or something like that. Okay? Now, what I want you to see is that we've already ran into this situation using FOIL. All right, let's consider this problem. This will be a good chance for us to review FOIL. Let's say that I wanted to multiply x plus 6 times x minus 6 using FOIL. Well, following FOIL, which is an acronym for first, outside, inside, last, I multiply the first terms together. X times x is x squared. Then I multiply the outside terms together, and I get negative 6x. Then I multiply the inside terms together, and I get plus 6x. And finally, remember I'm multiplying here. I multiply positive 6 times negative 6 and get negative 36. Now what you notice right away is when I get ready to combine my middle terms, they're opposites. Negative 6 and positive 6, so they just go away. And what I'm left with is x squared minus 36. Now here's my question to you. Is that a difference of two squares? Well, here's my difference. I have x squared. Couldn't I write 36 as 6 squared? Isn't 6 squared 36, right? So x squared minus 36 is what we call a difference of two squares. All right? Now, here's the nice thing. All you need to do when you're doing these problems is look for this situation where you have x plus 6 times x minus 6. If the two binomials are exactly the same, you don't have to do this FOIL step. You can go straight to x squared minus 36. They just have to be exactly the same. One's a plus, the other one's a minus. This is super easy. Let's just do a couple of them. Let's find the product. Okay, and we're using, I'll abbreviate here, difference of two squares. Let's say that I have x plus 3 times x minus 3. Well, my question is, are they exactly the same, except one is a plus and the other one's a minus? Aren't the two binomials exactly the same? Here I have x plus 3, and here I have x minus 3. as soon as you recognize that you're multiplying x plus 3 times x minus 3, you don't have to use FOIL. You can just use the shortcut. Square the x. I get x squared. Square the 3. What's 3 times 3? 9. Put a minus between them. It's done. And the reason I can do that is because anytime I have a difference of two squares, like we saw back here, the middle terms are going to go away. So if you recognize that it's a difference of two squares with an x plus 3 and an x minus 3, you can go straight to this. Let me give you one to try now on your own. Try this one. A minus 8 times A plus 8. I'll pause the video and you try it. Okay, you've had a chance to work on it. These are exactly the same. One's a minus, the other one's a plus. So I just square the A. I square the 8, which is 64, and I put a minus between them. Now, sometimes what you're squaring will have a number with it, like this one. 4m minus 9 times 4m plus 9. Something like that. If you see a problem like that, we do it exactly the same way, but when I square the 4m, I have to do 4 times 4. So that will be 16m squared. When I square the 9, of course, that will be 81, 9 times 9, and then you put a minus between them. So sometimes you will have to square a number as well when there's a coefficient. And there will also be other times, this is number 4, where both of the terms in the binomial will have a variable, like this one. 5m minus 2x times 5m plus 2x. This is still a chance for us to use the shortcut. So 5m times 5m is 25m squared. And 2x times 2x is 4x squared. And then we put a minus between them. All right, so the difference of two squares shortcuts is pretty easy. Now let's go over the square of a binomial shortcut. And you're going to need to keep these two situations separate in your mind because we treat each of them separately. Let's consider this situation that we saw last week. Let's say that I have x minus 7, the quantity squared, like that. Last week, we learned that if you square something, you multiply it by itself. So this really means x minus 7 times x minus 7. Now, let's go ahead and use FOIL, all right, and see what happens here. If I do FOIL, multiplying the first terms, x times x is x squared. Multiply the outside terms, and I get negative 7x. Multiply the inside terms together, and I get negative 7x. And then I multiply the last terms together. Negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49. Now, let's go ahead and finish our FOIL work. I need to combine these two like terms. Negative 7 minus 7 is negative 14. So this will be a negative 14x in the middle. And there's my final answer. Now what I want you to notice about this problem is that it has some similarities to what we just did with the difference of two squares. Look, what's x times x? Isn't it x squared? What's negative 7 times negative 7? Positive 49. The difference is we have a middle term. But look how easy the middle term is. Everybody watch. What is 7 times 2? Isn't that my middle term? Okay? So that's the way this shortcut works. As soon as you see this situation, we can use that shortcut. Let's do a couple of these. Let's say that I have a minus 6, the quantity squared. Now, on this problem, we're going to use the shortcut I just talked about. Square the a, square the 6, plus 36. Take this 6 and multiply it by 2. What's that? 12. And so my middle term is going to be a 12a. That came from multiplying this 6 times 2. Now here's the question. What sign do I use? If this is a minus, then this is a minus. It's that simple. Okay? If it would have been a plus, then it would have been a plus on the middle term. All right? Let's do another one. Let's go b minus 10, the quantity squared. I'm going to pause the video and you try that one. All right, using the shortcut, I square the b squared. I square the negative 10 plus 100. Then I take the 10 and I multiply it by 2, so that makes my middle term a 20b, and since this is a negative, this is a negative. Let's do, we're almost done here. Let's do another one where there's a plus. How about 3a plus 4, the quantity squared? Well, this is a case where we can use the shortcut again, just be careful. What is 3a times 3a? Right, it's going to be 9a to the second. Then square this one. What's 4 times 4? 16, so I will have a plus 16. Now, this one is a little bit different, okay? Because now I don't just have this number, I've got this number. So to get the middle term, it's going to be 4 times 3. I have to multiply these two together and then multiply it by 2. That's what changes this one. So 4 times 3 is 12, then I multiply it by 2. So my middle term in this case is 24a. And then since this is a plus, this is a plus. So this shortcut does change a little bit if I get a situation where I have this number in front of the first variable. Let's do one more of those just to make sure that we've got it. Let's say that we have 5m minus 3, the quantity squared. Okay, walking through this one more time, I square this term and I get 25m squared. I square the 3 and I get plus 9. Now remember, since I have a number here and here, I have to multiply those two numbers together and then multiply it by 2. So 5 times 3 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30 m. Since this is a minus, this is a minus. And that's how you use the square of a binomial and the difference of two squares shortcut. Don't forget our first shortcut. It's problems like this. X plus 4 times x minus 4. This is the other shortcut we started the day with. Do you see the difference between this and this? Okay, they're two different shortcuts. This one down here is easy. You square the x, you square the 4, and you put a minus between them. All right? This one up here is where you square the first term, last term, and then multiply the two terms together and times 2 to get the middle term. And we will stop there for today.